Roofman, directed by Derek Cianfrance. Derek Cianfrance, that's the only reason why I saw this film. In a very real sense, he changed my life. Blue Valentine and The Place Beyond the Pines are two films that had a very profound effect on me when I saw them in middle school. And middle school, specifically 8th grade, is the age when I really got into film and really realized I'm passionate about film. Those two films really blew my mind, and they just kind of showed me what's possible with cinema, but at the same time they also opened my mind with life and humanity and relationships and all sorts of things. So Derek has a very special place in my heart. So when I saw this trailer, I didn't know anything about it, and I was kind of like, yeah, it seems like a fun, goofy movie. And then when it was like Derek Cianfrance, I was like, what the heck? So I had to watch it. In many ways, this is such a departure from what he usually does, which are very serious character stories, dramas about legacy and that sort of thing. And this seems like, based on the marketing, like a very quirky, dorky, silly comedy that happens to be based on a true story. Almost like Black Klansman, it has that tone going for it. And I won't say the film was mismarketed, because I mean, honestly, how else can you market the film? But I think this film was very on brand for Derek Cianfrance, because the film at the end of the day is a tragedy, but it's also very nuanced, which is why there's so much comedy and silliness in it. So I'll get into that. But I just want to say right off the bat, highly recommend this film. Very good film, very accessible to everyone, and I think pretty much anyone would get something from this film. Entertaining, and it has heart. So I'm not gonna say what it's about. You could see the trailer. You if you're clicking on this, I'm assuming you know what it's about. Channing Tatum plays Jeffrey Manchester, I believe that's his name, and he's hiding in a Toys R Us. And that's pretty much the thing. And I read an interview with Derek Cianfrance, and he talks about how he didn't want to take the film too seriously, because at the end of the day, it's about a man hiding in a Toys R Us. So it's like, you can't take that too serious, but it's also Derek, so he's also gonna tell a very human story with nuance and take it serious, And I think the film walks that line extremely well. I think the film is very funny, but very authentic and very human and just very dramatic at the same time. And I think that's what makes the film so interesting. It's not just funny. The film is also, you're really invested in all the characters, but of course, especially Channing Tatum. You're really invested in him. So that's the drama, him interacting with people, him having the moral dilemma of like, I want to be a good guy, I want to live a normal life, but at the same time, I've made serious mistakes in life and I need to pay these consequences. But the whole film is him running from his consequences. And I just feel like Derek handled this film very well. The film doesn't straight up judge this character, because I think we all know burglary is wrong, so the film doesn't waste time judging him, because it's like, we already know. So the film spends its time just showing the human behind it. But also, I think what's really smart about the writing is that it also focuses on the people he hurt, which is good. So it never downplays his actions. It just doesn't like really focus on like, look at, this is a bad man, because this is not necessarily a bad man. He's like more of a foolish man than anything. And I think this film is on brand for him, because it's a tragedy just like his other films. It's just a different type of tragedy. And I think that there's a quote early on in the film that I feel like perfectly captures what this film is about. It's said by the Lakeith, that's his name, right? Lakeith Stanfield or something like that. Great actor, love that guy since Short Term 12. He says that, he's like, man, you are the dumbest smart person who ever existed. And that's pretty much who this character is, and that's what this film's about. This guy is incredibly intelligent. He understands patterns, statistics, measurements. He just understands so many things, but he's foolish. He's dumb. And he just like, I can only imagine what it's like for a veteran in the 2000s to get back from war and all that, or from the 90s. So I'm not going to say like, just get a job, because I don't fully understand how hard it was for many people. But at the same time, I know that this guy has options because of his intelligence and because of his record. And I mean, I know I've met these people, and we all have met these people, how some people just make foolish decisions, and you're kind of like, dude, just do this. And they're just kind of like, I can't do it. Or like, man, like they get in their own way. And that's who this guy is. So he turns to burglary, of course, but he has a good heart. And the movie really does a good job showing that, how he's a kind man and he's a caring man, and he just is foolish and a little bit selfish, And the performances were so good. Channing Tatum is great. I think people sleep on his acting chops because of the types of films he does, but he's really good. In many ways, I could even say this is an Oscar-worthy performance, but because there's no huge monologue and because there's no dramatic crying in it, or there's no huge transformation, he does lose weight for this film, so he's not like a buff ripped man. But you know, it's Channing Tatum, so I think people will sleep on this performance, but I do think it's great. And Kirsten Dunst, she's so good. It's great to see her in movies again. Ever since Civil War, she kind of like reminded me, like, damn, you know, she's a really good actress, you know. And I think she was perfect casting for this role because she needs to sell like a warm Christian woman, and but she's also a single mother, and she's also very strong. And I think the film does a really good job, and her acting does a really good job of portraying this woman who wants to be loved. She wants romance in her life. She wants connection in her life because she just got out of a divorce. But her girls are her number one priority. But she has this strength that she's not getting taken advantage of either, where you just feel bad for her the whole time, like, oh, she's getting taken advantage of by this guy. And I don't know, I just think that's the thing. There's so much about this film that's just nuanced. It's just so much. It's two things, like you're this and you're that. And I think that's so real. That's so real life, you know. There's this quote by Alan Moore that I thought about after watching this film, which was that he recommends that writers, when they're starting out, they should stick to one genre, because then you could hone your skills better, and also you can have fun while writing, because obviously you're probably going to pick a genre you really love. So it's just a way to kind of hone your skills and figure out your voice and all that, right? And he says, but then once you mature as a writer, you could start writing things that genre blend. You could start writing things that are an amalgamation of genres, like real life. And he's like, because that's life. Sometimes life feels like a comedy, sometimes it feels like a romance, and sometimes it feels like a horror film. And he's like, and that's life. And I feel like that's what this film does. This film just kind of is all over the place in a good way. Like, it feels like a comedy one moment, it feels like a drama one moment, it feels like a straight up rom-com at some moments. And my theater was loving it. There was like about 10 people in my theater, but I feel like people were very expressive, which was kind of fun. So in those romantic moments where people are flirting, and it feels so authentic, you know. There's so much about this film that feels real, and everyone was like, the girls were kind of giggling, like, oh my god, you know, like, because, you know, it's fun to watch flirting in film, you know. And there's also really emotional moments where I was feeling it, and I heard people crying in the theater. So this film just does a really good job of just making you feel all sorts of emotions, you know. And yeah, I don't want to ramble on this too long. I think everyone could watch this. I'm really bummed that the movie got a rated R rating, because it makes the film less accessible now. It's needlessly rated R. Like, I think I know why it's rated R. There's a couple of F-bombs, but I mean, you could get away with that in PG-13. But there's like one scene where it's a girl in pajamas, and like she kind of like rolls over, and like there's a nip slip. And it's like half a sec. It's like a second. And I'm kind of like, dude, that didn't need to happen. But I guess authenticity. But that kind of sucks, because like, oh, radar now, you know, whatever. But highly recommend this movie to everyone. I think anyone and everyone can appreciate this film, because it's told in such a great way, but also because it's based on a true story. And I know people love based on a true story. So yeah, highly recommend this. If this movie is entertaining, it's got heart, it's got nuance, it's also very well made by Derek. So check it out and let me know your thoughts, and thanks for watching.